Welcome back to Dungeon World. This campaign is called Sky Pirates. I made a mistake and failed to actually record session 7, and so I will just read the synopsis, which after 7 sessions got quite more verbose. Sean Russell wrote quite a bit on this one. February 26, 2016. Completing the barrage of tests after a full days of maneuvering, Engineer Boffin pronounces the airship fit for sailing. The engineers get the propellers working so the airship can now sail in any direction. Boffin says that they are low on certain supplies and would like to head back to Tyrium. The group asks if they could instead head toward Typhos, and Boffin agrees to steer the ship that way. Towards nightfall, a wind picks up from the sea, and Boffin says they are not likely to make Typhos before dark. The group decides to not try to sail at night and drops the anchor to rest. Raffin and Bertok take up berths in the cargo hold along with another crew member who is just a lump in a distant hammock. Raffin, not used to sleeping in strange places, gets up to quietly wander around. Finding a large barrel, he muscles it open but falls in, drowning slowly in sticky molasses. The commotion of the drowning thief wakes up the other lump, who turns out to be a goblin cook on board. Bertok, given his history on goblins, wakes up as the goblin cook bustles past to save the thief. He keeps Raffin from drowning, and the thief manages to squirm out of the barrel. The goblin berates Raffin from swimming in the good foodstuffs. Bertok sees the goblin and fetches his flail, but the goblin shrieks and moves up to the engine room for safety, where one of the engineers comes down to ask the group to try not to kill any of the crew. After a while, someone rings a bell and the ship heaves anchor, and Bertok and Raffin climb up, arriving at the engine room and getting the chance to study it for the first time. The two engineers are doing their best to keep everything running smoothly. They explain a bit about how the engine room functions. As the ship chugs against the morning headwind, the group congregates on deck. Raffin sees something flying through the clouds toward them, but is unable to identify it. Bertok recognizes it as looking like a giant manta ray, but has never seen one flying before. Boffin comes out on deck and says that they are called etheric rays. They fly through the skies and eat whatever happens to fly into their mouths. They travel across the skies from world to world, spending only minutes to hours in a particular sky before flickering to a different world. They live for a very long time span and can get huge depending on how much food they run into over their lifetimes. They are the main reason it is dangerous to fly at night. There is no real way to see or predict them ahead of time. Arriving at Typhos, a crowd gathers to stare in awe at the prototype airship, with Boffin proudly saying that requests from such ships should go to Lady Elban of Tyrium. Typhos is the crown city for the surrounding cities, and is much larger and more majestic than Tyrium. The ship has to trade for supplies, but Boffin is finally happy with supplies, and they take off again, bearing northeast toward Belfast, where the journal says the Black Hand goblins were a few months ago. Along the way they encounter a burning village south of Belfast, but pass it by. Belfast is a city built upon 2 huge bridges that span the river, allowing commerce to pass through, and has high walls and strong gates. The party goes to an inn pointed out by a guard and asks the barkeep, Harry, for information about the Black Hand goblins. The barkeep pours something strong for Raffin, who quaffs it and gets quite drunk. Bertok orders a plate of sausages and asks the barkeep about the goblins. Harry recalls that Bozo and his troop came a few months ago, grumbles about goblins in general, and says that the goblin troop said a group of Black Hand goblins were watching them and glowering. As the conversation wraps up, a girl runs in, sobbing, asking for water or food, and how to contact the Lord of Belfast. The girl is fed by Bertok, and it turns out that she has been running north for 2 days since her village was burned and sacked by goblins. The party takes the girl with them and sails southward to the little village of Meadow Bottoms.